Hello guys, in this video I'm going to break down an answer to a simple question, which is basically, do you need a data warehouse, right? We often get these questions and we came across them, people and organizations asking, should they get a data warehouse implemented? Should they do that? Is it costly? Is it not? Is it worth it? What ROI does it bring? What type of scenario you need to be in to actually think about implementing this. And in this video I'm going to explain all of this stuff and also key steps that you need to take when implementing it, what mistakes that you need to avoid it, and also at the end of the day I'm going to explain to you some examples of what you need to be careful of when implementing the data warehouse and who you need to go to implement it. Now, why should you listen to me? We implemented who full multiple times, way over 15, 20 times, whole data analytical infrastructures, BI, data warehouses, and other analytical solutions from A to Z for organizations to turn their raw data into the actionable insights, create custom analytical dashboard, and so they're able to use data to be more effective, to lower their churn, increase their retention, increase their profits, and so on, and just be overall more data-driven organization as they should be. We generated way over 10 million plus in pure revenue just by doing that, okay, aligning the data needs to the business needs, and scaling companies with just using their own data, right? And this is basically our own goal with this videos as well. Like at Stella, we try to help businesses, organizations to scale just by utilizing data to turning their raw data into actionable insights, right? And we help basically in multiple industries from software tech, digital tech companies, and so on, service-based businesses, etc. Right? Now, here are some of the solutions that we already built. Let me just scroll through it as you're able to see it, and here are some of the testimonials you're able to see. You can pause the video and just go through them if you desire to, right? Now, what is data warehouse? Basically, data warehouse is basically like a concept. You can even call it like a repository to a degree, which is basically designed to storing, managing, and analyzing large amounts of data from different sources, right? Meaning you can think it of like a central hub where all of your organizational data it is from various departments, from applications, from multiple sources that comes together in a constant and organized way, right? And here's basically a quick picture so you're able to understand it in more clear view, right? And you're able to see here data sources, and it goes through the data transportation, like a transformation, and inside of the data warehouse where it's stored, organized, transformed, and ready to be used for business decisions, making data-driven decisions, and other uh, ways with that you can utilize data to gain an advantage in the market, aka increase revenue and all the business benefits, right? So you can call it like a repository where all your data is stored. This is like a simple explanation that shouldn't be complicated to be understood. Now, benefits of data warehouses, right? You have basically the first benefit is a data unified view, aka from multiple sources, as in the picture above. As you can see here, the data sources, it goes inside of the data warehouse. Here's just a bunch of different tools that you have on the market, just so you understand of it. Now, and you're able to understand the unified data from multiple sources, aka you're able to gain a central 360 kind of view, people call it like in that specific manner, and consolidate all of their data in one place to see it, to look at it, and to make better data-driven decisions, right? Meaning you can think about things like, let's say, your marketing data, your sales data, your finance data, your customer support data, your product data, and you have all of them things inside of the data warehouses, which raw data, aka, is stored in multiple sources. Let's say you have average business has way over 100 average data sources, and all of those average 100 data sources are now stored inside the data warehouse, and they're stored in a way that you can actually make decisions on, okay, in that specific format. They're accurate and so on and so forth, right? And why this is important is also you basically to make any rational and logical decisions, you need to have a 360 type of view, like a unified view of your data, of your organizational data, right? And why is that? Basically, let's say you want to see your marketing data, you rarely gonna just go inside of your marketing softwares, let's say your ads manager, to look at that specific data. You can also go in your finance, you can also go in your sales, you can also go in your product to determine the why, okay, the root cause of things happening, right? That's why it's important. Now, historical data storage and trend analysis. Many databases on the market, aside from data warehouses and so on, don't really store historical data, meaning that you cannot look back. They are more operational type of databases. Okay, they operate in terms of constant live data, and they don't really, you cannot really access the historical type of data. Meaning, with data warehouses, that is solved, meaning you're able to look back and see what happened in the previous periods of your organizational life cycle and look back and improve, right? Which basically helps you, and you don't need to consolidate multiple Google Sheets. You don't need to spend hours trying to find, or maybe even operate from a good feeling of how to what might happen in the past, and of course rely on manual processes. As here below, you don't, a lot of people try at the start when they're trying to become data driven, try to track in spreadsheets, let's say Excel or Google Sheets, and they now need to like command C, command paste, and so on, all those stuff, and multiple spreadsheets together, which is just not scalable and very inefficient. Now, source of truth. Now, source of truth is an acronym, or maybe even a quote that data people like to use, that data warehouse is like a source of truth, right? Meaning everybody inside of the organization and inside of the business. That doesn't mean just IT or any other data analysts, data experts, but also business commercial experts can go inside of the data warehouse or any other type of data warehouses that are built upon that specific sense, like let's say data marts and so on. They're able to understand and of course and actually rely on data, right? Meaning everything that is in the data warehouse, it should be accurate at 100%, right? Because if it's not, it's pretty much useless. And that's why in data warehouses you're also able to have uh, to even get the data inside of the data warehouse, you have thing called ETLs, which is extract, transform, and load, which basically cleans, validates, and standardize the data before it's actually loaded inside of the data warehouse. And of course, in there you also have certain procedures and automations, maybe you can call them, that double check if the data is high quality, like it's fitting these specific criteria that you set, that make sure the data quality is at 100%, right? Make it always accurate. Now, the fourth thing is for analytics, not transactions, right? There's a lot of transactional databases like CRMs and ERP systems and so on, and basically any type of software you have are optimized for day-to-day operations, and but not analytics. Meaning, if you go inside of your ads manager, if your CRMs, in any type of software you use, to be honest, they are not meant to make data-driven decisions. It's very hard to access analytical type of data to be actually see and look. Well, okay, this happened this day, this happened this day. I can make a rational decisions to improve X, Y, Z. It's very hard because they don't really operate. Okay, they don't really offer that because they don't know because they cannot customize it to your needs, goals, and priorities. And if data is not customized to your goals, needs, and priorities, it's pretty much worthless, right? That's why you cannot go inside of the data sources and look what happened. Okay, actually see analytics, and that's why reporting is complex, friction, and makes basically a very big friction inside of the business processes. As well, trying to create any type of big queries, okay, trying to make any big analytical queries or any type of big analytical reports, it's very hard because you don't really have the data from the other sources, right? You cannot just, let's say you want to see churn rate segmented by year, you cannot really do that. And you cannot really see, let's say you want to see churn rate segmented by lead source. You need to have also your customer data, your sales data, you need to also have your finance, and etc. You need to basically every single type of data for business to actually just get this. And your transactional databases, softwares don't have that, right? But in your data warehouse, you can calculate this with very ease. You write a small SQL query and you have it. Automation, as I said at the beginning, average business has over 100 data sources, and if you try to go inside of them manually, it's gonna take you over 2 months, and that's very inefficient. Plus, let alone if you go manually in them, okay, actually trying to find this data manually, you're gonna be faced with inaccurate data, with no analytical data. Actually, very hard, but at the end, okay, very hard to exit. To summarize, basically what I'm trying to say. Now, machine learning and advanced analytics. Many data science projects, machine learning projects are based and built upon the data warehouses, because data warehouses operates like a source of truth. Like all the data is accurate as it should be, and that's why data scientists and analysts can leverage data warehouses to build forecasting, demand, any advanced analytics like forecasting, MRR, ARR, predictive customer churn, prescriptive analytics, optimizing pricing conditions or strategies, and so on, right? Scalability, it can basically hold so much large scale of data. There is no actually the end of it, because majority of the data warehouses are paid as you go, based on paid usage. There are no upfront fees, as far I'm aware of, from the big players in this space. Real-time analytics, you can actually gain real-time analytics, see what happens on a real-time basis, okay, actually every single second of what happened. That doesn't mean you need real-time analytics, just so I clarify, but it provides you with that as well. Access to data, okay, self-service analytics. Now, self-service analytics, people think Power BI, and so on. When I say self-service analytics, I don't mean Power BI, okay, BI tool, but I mean actually having access to data in any time span. It doesn't really matter what tool you use, right? Self-service analytics should mean that I'm able to access my organizational data now. It doesn't matter what tool to use. It can be Excel, it can be spreadsheets. This is often used, or how we do it is we enable key users, like champions, what we call them, data champions, and they have access to all those granular data directly from the data warehouse in specific things called data marts, which is mainly used for, let's say, for data warehouse has a data from whole organization, data mart has a data just from sales, right? And we give this to, let's say, sales manager, and he has it stored inside of the spreadsheet, Excel, for example. And this helps because they don't need to rely on any IT, any third-party provider, and they can actually just use the data now, right? And that doesn't mean it negates, or they don't need now spreadsheets or any advanced analytics or BI. That doesn't mean that. They still use their BI, they still use their Excel custom analytical dashboard and so on, but that this helps them to see, and if they need to see and do any granular analysis, or just try to figure out something on their own, they can just use that, right? But if they don't, and they don't have access to that, are you really data-driven organization? I think not, right? And of course, data at the end, data security, governance, many different, of course, many organizations, especially healthcare, manufacturer, and other businesses, have to align with certain legal requirements and procedures from that specific industry, like GDPR, HIPAA, CCPA, and so on. Now, steps to take before implementing data warehouse. Now, you first need to start with strategy. Everything in data starts with strategy. Okay, identify business requirements and incorporate with department objectives in mind. Meaning you start with your goals, needs, and priorities. You start identifying the business needs. Do you actually need this? Are you trying to what is your goal? You want to achieve this. Don't start with the solution in mind. Start with the problems and the goals you want to achieve, because solution can vary, but the problems and goals cannot, right? Now, the second thing assess the data requirements. Okay, check where your data stored, in what sources they are, what data sources are you using, is the data actually the data sources accurate, is it not, what's the next step that you need to do before even trying to think about implementing this. You need to, of course, clean the data inside of the data sources and so on. Assess the prioritizations. What are you trying to do with the data? You need to ask yourself, what is the goals? What are you going to do with this? Also, you need to ask yourself, okay, what is the priority? Because you're going to have so many things on your mind. You're going to have so many metrics to track, but you need to ask yourself, is that a priority right now? Is this lowest hanging fruit? Of course, and you're going to utilize prioritization metrics, which is basically metrics between the business value and feasibility. The things that you should do right now and should prioritize the things that are very feasible and have very high business value. Just because some things are high business value but they're not feasible, that doesn't mean you should do them, right? Address the architecture. You need to align your goals, needs, and priorities, okay, your actual strategy part, with the tools that you're gonna choose. That either be the data warehouses, the ETLs, aka extract, transform, and load tool, and some additional BI tools, like to visualize the data and so on, right? And of course, iterative approach. Everything with the data works inside of the iterative approach. You cannot just think that this is like a one-time thing and it's done. It's an iterative approach, works in sprints. Okay, you can either have milestones or whatever you should try to do, but every single thing should provide value and should get you to that specific goal at the end of the day. Okay, should bring the ROI as soon as possible. That's why you should work in an iterative approach. Start small and of course improve on the go. Now, data warehouse implementations, just going to go over quickly. This is how this looks. You have your data sources, you have your ETL, your data warehouses. Okay, let's say just one. Let's say you're using BigQuery, and you have your data marts, basically to access the data for business leaders and data visualizations, right? Now, that's how it's implemented. Let's say you have your raw data layer. That's where your raw data and process data is stored from various data sources, meaning it's an original data directly from the API, which is normally extracted with. This is used, let's say, like a landing zone, which basically that's like a raw data. It's not even aggregated, okay, modeled. It's raw because, and that's exactly how it should be, right? Before it's even aggregated, okay, queried instead of the analytical type of data, which analytical means that you are able to make data-driven decisions, right? This is very like unformatted, unstructured, etc. It looks very ugly, long, and so on. You have your cleansed transformation layer, which is basically then you have your cleansed transformation layer, which is basically you have a certain rules, criteria that make sure the data is accurate and consistent all across the business, and it's ready for analysis. Okay, there is no duplicates, there is no very weird formats, everything is in correct data types, and it's ready basically to be modeled. Okay, be ready to put inside of the business layer. Okay, ready to be formed inside of the analytical type of data, okay, actually trying to make the uniformed and logical decisions from it. Then you have your data marts. Now you're able to see, you have your data organized and so on. This is just like a simplified approach, just so you know, guys. You have your data marts, which is basically just used as a start, okay, for specific departments, so you can, so each department leader or manager, whatever it is, can just gain the insights inside of the granular data for that specific department, let's say sales, finance, and so on. And that can be either used inside of spreadsheets, Excel's, BI. It doesn't really matter. I would choose the tool that they are most comfortable to using it, and it requires very low steam of learning. Okay, learning curve low. Basically, doesn't require any type of learning curve. And of course, that doesn't mean that they don't need to use custom analytical dashboards and so on. Of course, they will, I know, because it just provides 10 times more value, but this ensures them they can access the data at any time. An analytical presentation layer, okay, this is your custom analytical dashboards, solutions, BI, and so on to visualize the data all across your business and make unified and actually uncover insights and cover the why and actually make data-driven decisions. Now, should you implement a data warehouse? Right. You need to ask yourself this checklist. Do you store the data in various source systems? Are you experiencing performance issues by reporting against operational systems? And do you have a single source of truth? Right. Basically, this is if you answered all of these things, this should be correct, right? Meaning when I say the second question, just so I clarify, maybe it's a bit confusing. What I mean by this is, are you able to make data-driven decisions in short lines, right? Because if you're spending, let's say, 20 plus 50 hours for basic metrics, or if you cannot find even your basic metrics, you have a very big problem. Or if you're spending so much time trying to make rational decisions, you have a big problem, right? Okay, you need to implement this. Now, why shouldn't you implement data warehouse? You have minimal data source. Okay, you have maybe one data source. You have maybe a handful of metrics, 3-4 metrics that you only care about. You're not frequent, meaning you actually need to make a data-driven decisions once a month, and that's basically it. And fourth, you're not really a data-driven company. You're very at the lower stage of your overall organizational growth, and it just doesn't make sense, right? You can utilize, just for alternative sake, you can either utilize things like data lakehouse, data storages, okay, bases, maybe even some type of off-the-shelf tools like Google spreadsheets, and so on. Now, common objections is this. I get these questions quite often, and I just want them to explain in more detail, because quite a lot of them are big misconceptions, right? And the first one is, why can't I just look at the data inside of the data source? Now, I think this is quite straightforward, but I'm going to explain it. But operational data sources are not really designed for analytics, meaning if you go inside of any software, you're not going to be able to find analytical data to make rational data-driven decisions. Operational data is meant data for storing it, and that's basically it. But it's not meant for any complex queries and any type of data that requires merging multiple sources together to actually gain an insight and actually uncover the root cause, right? And of course, for an example, it could be, let's say, analyzing customer journey data requires combining CRM data with product data, data with, let's say, from churn. You need to also uncover data from customers, sales, finance, and so on. In short lines, you actually need 360 type of view, okay, all your organizational data to actually make a rational data-driven decision and actually use data to be a data-driven company. Because if you're not a data-driven driven company, because you're just relying on one specific piece of information, right? You're not seeing the full picture. And the second one is why I can just use spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are great. You can use them, of course, but they are meant for small data sets, and they are very prone to error and human error. And of course, 99% of times you're going to be using them. They are very short term, and then you're going to disregard them, and you're going to be stop being data driven decision. You're going to be basically in short lines, you're not going to be a data driven company, because it's a very short term oriented tool. You're going to be using it, it's going to get inaccurate, and you're going to ditch it out and stop tracking data at all, right? And of course, they're not scalable. They cannot withstand complex queries, or not even storing data overall. Objection free, we're already tracking close rates, ARR, MRR, churn, and so on. We already data driven. If you are saying this, which is quite often, not quite often, but in some cases we came across, is that people think that they're already tracking metrics, and that means they are a data-driven company. 99% of these metrics that I just mentioned, and even more, are such a vanity metrics where they don't provide any type of insight, aka ROI, right? They're just like a MRR metric and so on, which every single person tracks in this world, because if you're not tracking this, how are you even in business these days? And if you're tracking all of these metrics, okay, vanity metrics, and not actionable insights, that simply doesn't provide you any ROI. And to actually track actionable insight and actually gain value, aka ROI from data, you need to gain 360 view of your business and actually uncover the root cause of why things happen, why it happened, when might happen next, and so on. And of course, the last thing is the data. Being a data-driven company it's not like black and white. It's always constant improvement. It's not I am a data-driven company or I'm not. It's always constant improvement. Even the biggest companies in this world, $1 trillion companies, $1 billion companies, doesn't really matter. They are still constantly evolving their data maturity curve, which basically means how effectively they are using their data to grow their business, right? Now, objection free, a data warehouse seems too costly and it's too complex to set it up. Not really. If you have very low type of data, not complex needs, you can set it up in under a week. And of course, majority of these data warehouses offer free tiers, okay, and their pricing is based on pay as you go, okay, based on usage. Things like big queries or big great example that you can use, because majority of your source is going to be on Google based as well. And at the start, it's going to basically cost you $0. All right. So there is no real excuse in that objection for saying that it's very expensive, which is not really. Now, to summarize, in short line, everyone will benefit from utilizing a data warehouse, and the ROI of implementing the data warehouse is basically incomparable. It's 1000%, if you can call it that, on the longer term and shorter term. But the biggest thing you should ask yourself, okay, is the data warehousing, okay, implementing the data warehouse right now, the priority, is it going to bring the most value right now? Is the things that we should focus on, and so on? Because implementing the data warehouse is a serious initiative. Okay, it's a first step of becoming a data-driven company. And of course, I believe every single company should do this, and it's going to provide you great benefits. But you should ask yourself, is this the right time? Does it make sense to build it, right? So if you want to implement custom data analytical warehouses, build custom analytical dashboards, and actually use your raw data into actionable insights to make money, okay, drive revenue, and so on, you can book a call with our exploration team, and see you soon.